feel like a lot of bands try and do what they're doing, but it's just kind of like pretentious noise rock. And somehow he's able to do this, what we're listening to. And I don't look at it as like pretentious. I look at it as like something that still needs to be said, not just for the sake of, saying it.
Yeah.
It is time.
Galaxy Jams Reacts, thanks for joining us today. We're going to start off with Frank Zappa.
Nice.
I don't know how much you guys are into Zappa.
I love Zappa.
I love Zappa.
I feel like I need to be.
I'm so into this already.
This is going to blow your mind, and I'm not going to kid you. This, to me, is probably one of the most, what would you say, the most insanely ambitious songs, the craziest song I've ever seen. And it's played live, and that's the crazy thing about it. I guess Frank Zappa recorded this live, and he made this video with his own money and sent it out to the record companies and radio stations and said, have at it, play it, do whatever you want to with it. And some people like over in Europe did.
Wow, I did not know. That's awesome.
But I don't think like CBS or anybody picked it up because it's too insane. But this is back in 1974. It's a cool song called Inca Roads, a token of his extreme. And the album that's on, if you want to check that out, is called You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore, Volume 2.
He was already on Volume 2 of that.
Already on Volume 2.
Early synth use there.
Now, before we get into this, I just kind of want to explain, this is going to go to a place you just don't expect.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know. So anybody,
I love the vibraphones or the marimba, actually, I believe.
Yeah.
And that whole section, I think, makes this, work.
It essentially has a whole orchestra in there.
Oh, yeah. And the crazy thing about it is it's so intricate once we get going. We're about to start doing it. The what it would take talent-wise to be able to pull this off on stage as clean and crisp as they do, it's beyond me.
Did a vehicle come from somewhere out there? Just to let in the ideas. Was it round and did it have a motor? Or was it something different?
Sure was different. I ain't never seen nothing
Why
like
don't you
that
sharpen
in
his
my
hand?
entire life. A round ball. I couldn't that white can't do nothing for you.
Looking for a free project management solution?
YouTube, we are
With ClickUp,
disowning you.
I'm backing up.
Let's start. Let's press start for a second. I just want to also talk about the band before we keep going. Sorry about that ad break, but YouTube, you're killing us. Okay, we have Ruth Underwood on the marimba. So, and I think her and her brother, I believe, were a big part of Zappa's band in the early years. And then Napoleon Murphy Brock on the sax and vocals, and George Duke on the keyboards, who was an amazing jazz pianist and keyboardist. It's just amazing that Frank Zappa, rallied these people together to do this absurdism music. So let's keep it going.
In my entire life. A round ball. I couldn't that white can't do nothing for you.
Did a vehicle fly along the mountains and find a place to park itself? Park itself. Park it. Or did someone build a place to leave a space for such a thing to land?
he's like turning around and hitting the bass drum in between.
It's just insane.
It's insane.
And what do you think?
It's insane. It's just a wonderful composition. Is it true that I know he did some weird stuff? I don't know a whole lot about Zappa, but I think would he like isolate players and like give them the composition and then have to like learn it in isolation?
Yeah,
like stuff like that.
Because all of this is written on sheet music, so just like a regular orchestra, they don't sit there and practice all the time. I mean, they do, but like,
It's wild.
you know, they're expected to learn their parts. So are they all reading off of sheet music right now?
I don't think they
They're
have
not
it
right
from
now.
them,
They
no.
rehearsed it, but he did compose sheet music. You're correct. Zappa was known to have arduous rehearsals, and basically, you know, he paid his musicians to rehearse too,
Right.
and he was really good to his band in that respect. And I think that shows in the results of his music. They learn these searing pieces that are like just all over the place. So it's amazing. Frank Zappa was actually a percussion major, not a guitarist, but he became an amazing guitarist.
I go back to, I knew it was going to start doing that. I go back to what I was going to say about that going on to CBS. Remember, I said he made this video, said he sent it to like CBS and NBC, like all the major networks and stuff. And they did not play it. I wonder why.
The Claymation is insane. It was a guy named Bruce Bickford, actually.
Yeah.
And there's a movie called Baby Snakes for any people who want to be educated on Zappa and check out more. Baby Snakes is a movie where he collaborated with Bruce again, and it kind of shows their process, and it's really crazy. They sat around and hung out and basically just like made the trippiest Claymation to the trippiest music. It's awesome.
It's crazy. It came out in 1974 too, because people are doing stuff like that right now.
And it's hard to get people to do stuff like that now. It takes a lot of work and a huge budget, and I think they were just doing it. You know, Bruce Bickford was this really weird guy that just wanted to make the Claymation for Frank. You know, yeah, you should watch Baby Snakes. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's great.
It's so check that out, guys. Let's try to get the rest of this going.
Crazy
Yeah.
thing.
That shit's crazy. Oh my god. I love that. Is that Billy Cobham on drums? It looks like Billy.
Chester Thompson.
Oh, Chester Thompson. Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I liked when the piano synth came in. It was like so slick. The drums started doing this like garage.
They went to like a
band.
jazz swing thing.
Yeah,
out of
and
nowhere.
then the keyboard's just like crushing it. And wow, I can't wait to listen to more.
The syncopation between the bass player and the drummer during that part was just, I mean, everybody. It's just,
I mean, the composition is really to show off the virtuosity of the players, you know, and that's the whole thing. And like people like to watch Snarky Puppy, where like Cory Henry does this crazy solo on Lingus that's super iconic, and this goes all the way back to 1974. George Duke solo right there is just as tight and insane. So
yeah,
I'm loving it.
How interesting, and also another thing is that whenever throughout my life, like the music I've been playing, like people would come up to me after playing shows and be like, "Oh, like yeah, you listen to Frank Zappa, don't you?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." Really. And like a lot of times when
they're just like, "You play quirky music, you must listen to Frank Zappa."
But this is like, but it still has like a groove to it because I feel like a lot of bands try and do what they're doing, but it's just kind of like noise, pretentious noise rock, and somehow he's able to do this, what we're listening to, and I don't look at it as like pretentious. I look at it as like something that still needs to be said, not just for the sake of saying it.
Yeah,
agreed.
Ruth Underwood, nuts.
Did a booger back from somewhere out there?
Just a little paralysis.
Was she running? Did she have a motor?
Or was she something different?
Guacamole queen.
Guacamole queen.
Guacamole queen.
At the Armadillo in Austin, Texas. Or did someone build a place or leave a space for Chester's thing to land? Chester's thing. En route.
Did a booger back from somewhere out there? Did a booger back from somewhere out there? Did the Indians first on the bell? My brother hell.
Solo all the way down every
road. On road. That's Ruth.
That's Ruth. I love that. The
Love
Guacamole Queen. And the lyrics that they're just like throwing in there, it's just like toy with your head.
Does it actually make sense, or is it like one of those things where they're just using words as like?
Oh yeah, it was poetry. I mean, like if it definitely reads. It's not just like random. I mean, kind of like Fish. I feel like Fish took a lot from Zappa in terms of
Humphreys McGee.
Yeah, a lot of bands like that. In terms of throwing lyrical craziness at a song.
Their lyrics like paint a picture of a certain thing that does make sense, but it's way out there.
But yeah, like and in this this same series or like performance, they do Montana, which is one of my favorite Zappa songs, and I love that version on this. And that song is, again, it tells this story, but it's of absurdism, and the lyrics, like, they make almost no sense, but then like if you read them, you're like, oh, it actually does tell a story.
Well, it's about a guy going to Montana to go be a dental floss tycoon.
Yes, and that's the start of it, right? But George Duke and Napoleon Murphy Brock is the saxophone player. I love it when they have that like back and forth chatter. Like, how do they know? How do they rehearse that so well?
I don't know, but even the stuff that he's saying, like, "Hey, what?"
Yeah,
all
like
that is
little
scripted.
interjections,
like crazy. I think.
Yeah, there has to be a time when they're just sitting in front of a metronome and doing, each part to try and get as syncopated as possible.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, this is a polyrhythm where I can just interject like a hey or
right."
And
it's really strange.
And if you think about it, these people, like you said, they're getting paid to practice, so it's turning into like they're probably practicing 8 hours a day, and so that means that like their whole focus of what they're here, to be alive about, is an apex of this performance of this whole thing that they dedicated that portion of their lives to.
Right, and plus Zappa had a very strict policy on drugs.
Right,
no drugs were to be consumed while you're doing his projects.
Right.
He would send you home.
Yeah,
I mean, there's all these interviews where he talks about it, and I think that's amazing. It's like he was taking all the players that would be in like a symphony or huge jazz band and putting them in his band, and it's like, let's rock the world, with this crazy out there music.
Well, and he's been out there, like, he even was, I remember seeing, like, something that was either the early 60s or late 50s. He was on a television show, and he's clean-cut hair, and he's like, in a suit.
Oh, and he plays the bicycle.
He plays a bicycle on television.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I need to look that up.
I love how I think between EJ and I, we probably know every single thing about Frank Zappa.
That's awesome.
Like, between
I'm
us.
still learning new stuff
because
about
I've seen that video, and I love that video. He plays a bicycle.
Yeah.
He was a performance artist and composer, really at the heart of it. So.
And what I really liked about him too is he never was like goofy about it. He always was very serious about it. So like you see him playing the thing, and people are of course like, what is this crazy thing I'm seeing in 1958, 9 or whatever? And he's just like, this is the core. He just talks about his whole like way that he composes music. And
awesome.
He plays a bicycle, just like somebody went out there and did anything, and it was cool.
Yeah, and he did all this too with actually a weird sexiness. Like he was like a rock star.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like how did it was kind of weird how that happened. Like I think it's the mustache or something, but like he became a sex symbol.
I feel like it's like one of those famous painters, like for example, at the Chrysler Hall where we live, there is a what's the name of him again?
MC Escher.
Yeah, so MC
Escher.
Escher, and the whole thing is like what he does is so absurd, but if you do it with a certain style of confidence and style, then it's making it. I'm sure, like in 1950 or 1940, when MC Escher was doing all this crazy stuff, there was a giant chunk of people that were just like, I don't get it at all. And this stuff was made like,
always.
I mean, you can show this to a normal person right now, and they would probably be like, not understanding or not getting it, So, like, how many music people that would understand what they're hearing, could there be back then? And him to harness that audience to, become famous enough that he's getting paid to do it. You know what I mean? That's what I think is so crazy.
Oh yeah.
You're right. He was very influential. And Mike, I like how you went to MC Escher, an artist like that, because I think Frank Zappa does a similar thing where he took his style and just extrapolated upon it and didn't care what other people thought, and it becomes like his own style that you either get or you don't.
Right. And I think also the music back then that was around for him to listen to, some of the bands back then probably they all probably influenced each other, like Yes and Frank Zappa, and like I'm pretty sure that he was like, oh, well, I'll bring these rock tones in, because before he was doing more classical stuff like off the bat.
Also, believe it or not, Frank talks about in this interview that back then the record label guys didn't know shit about music, and they didn't even think they did. They were just money guys, so they'd be like, oh, that looks cool. What, you're a guitarist? You're a weird guy? Let's throw some money at that record.
Right.
And they took chances on stuff more back then. And now, and he talks about it. I want to find the interview one time, but he's like, now it's like the record execs get younger and younger and think they know everything about music. So the music becomes like more and more like what they like. Whereas back then, it was people were taking chances on new music more so.
Agreed.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kai here with Galaxy Jams. I hope you enjoyed that React video. If you didn't know, we live stream a music improv show every single Tuesday, and we'd love to have you there. But if you want to hear what we sound like, just give us 30 seconds.